Clinical trials. What is a clinical trial? A clinical trial is a research study whose aim is evaluating a medical, surgical, or behavioral intervention using people to find new ways to improve health. In clinical trials, you can also find out if people have certain diseases. There are 4 phases in clinical trials. Phase 1. Doctors check the safety of a new treatment, how the medicine should be given, how often it should be given, what dose is safe, and what the side effects are. Here, you use small groups of often healthy people. You can use 20 to 80 people. Phase 2. Doctors give a new treatment to a group of people with certain disease. The doctor checks the treatment side effects and how well it works to treat the disease. Here you use more people than phase 1. You can use 100 to 300 people. Phase 3. Doctors compare a new treatment with the current treatment for a certain disease. They learn if the new treatment helps the disease better, worse, or the same as the current treatment, or if it has more or fewer side effects. The number of subjects usually ranges from several hundred to about 3,000 people. Phase 4. It takes place after the FDA approves the use of the drugs or devices. A device or drug's effectiveness and safety are monitored in large, diverse populations. How do we do a clinical trial? All research should be fully funded because you must cover some costs as production and packaging of medicines, people who help in the process of the clinical trial in areas of statistic, auditory, control, and other services. A clinical trial should always have a protocol, which is a document that describes in detail the objective, design, methodology, statistical considerations, and organizations of a trial. It is important that this is developed early on the study preparation process.
Who can participate in a clinical trial? Each trial has a specific inclusion and exclusion criteria to determine the exact patient population that may participate. Inclusion criteria are based on factors such as patient age, gender, the type and stage of a disease, previous treatment history, and other medical conditions. Some clinical trials seek participants with illnesses or conditions to be studied in a clinical trial, while others need healthy participants. Informed consent. Patient rights and protection are a top priority. The informed consent process makes sure that the benefits and risks are clear to them. Confidentiality. Patients' identity is always protected through a numbering system. Their name and contact details will never be disclosed, unless required by law. What happens when patients leave the clinical trial? An informed consent document is not a legal contract that requires participation in a study for the length of a study. A participant is free to leave a clinical trial at any time without prejudice to their ongoing medical care. They will not have access to the experimental medicine being studied if they leave the trial. What about pros and cons? Pros. With a clinical trial, you have the opportunity to play an active role in your own healthcare, access to an expert team that can give you a deeper understanding of your condition, access to new research or investigational medication, access to additional care or tests specific to the trial, the knowledge that you are helping others. Cons. Trial patients should be mindful of the chance of harm occurring or the degree of harm. For example, side effects of drugs and risks to any procedures that may be performed. If the study site is far away from you, you may have to spend money and time. What happens after the clinical trial? If you request to see your data from the trial, researchers may have to wait until trial results are made public before sharing the information with you. After a clinical trial is done, researchers carefully analyze all the data they collect. If findings are possible overall, or there is further analysis to do or more questions to answer, they may decide to move on to the next step phase. Or they may decide to stop testing because the drug was not safe or effective enough.